whole description she does of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated. We all know the first interview was given to CBS. We all know that she never intended to go to the Portland hospital. She intended to have the baby at home. We know that they deceived the public about the birth data and time of the whole event.
She has quite deliberately caused doubt, and she has created mischief, knowing that it would damage the royal family, which would show a level of spite and malice that is truly not only sick, but evil. And the alternative is that she didn't give birth to those children.
No, for example,
they need to prove that those children, Meghan and Harry, are not entitled to privacy in this matter. And their privacy is trumped by our right to know that no bastard is going to sit.
Tom Bower said it publicly. Lady Colin Campbell said it publicly too. Both have spoken in front of enormous audiences on both sides of the Atlantic. While they have been speaking, the debate around DNA-related proof has only become louder online. Supporters, critics, commentators, and curious viewers keep returning to the same question that has followed this story for years. If the claims and rumors are completely wrong, why not show something strong enough to end the argument? But instead of fading, the conversation keeps growing. 3 months ago, Tom Bower returned to the center of the storm. In March 2026, his latest book, Betrayal, reached the public and immediately created major noise across the UK. Within days, it climbed to the top of the Sunday Times bestseller list, and both supporters and critics of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle started reacting hard. Everyone had an opinion, and once again, the Sussex debate became impossible to ignore. If you do not know Tom Bower, here is why his name matters. He is not viewed as a random gossip writer chasing cheap attention. He has built his reputation as one of Britain's most recognized investigative biographers, known for pursuing powerful people and sources close to major events. That is why an alleged private meeting at Kensington Palace hit royal circles so strongly. The meeting was reportedly meant to calm tensions. Instead, according to claims around the book, it became heated quickly, with Meghan allegedly telling Prince William to move his finger away from her face.
The only time that I've come back to the UK is, sadly, for funerals or court cases.
Children are born to people who have them of their body. Children are born for people who have them through surrogacy arrangements or through adoption.
Well, I don't mind if they sue as long as they lose. And so far, thank goodness, they've lost. But I think that Meghan, if she sues, she won't want to appear in court being cross-examined by my barrister. So it's best if she doesn't sue. Obviously, she is a person who controls the narrative. She controls people. She ghosts people like her father or the royal family when she doesn't like them. She's a very determined woman, and she thought she could cut me off, and she failed.
Only 2 children that there is no proof for is Prince Archie Bunker and Princess Lily. You better hope that she's really entitled to what they claim she's entitled to.
Royal watchers have argued over that alleged moment ever since. The book also raises questions about Centibale's finances, pointing to allegations about how funds were handled, while also taking aim at Meghan's Netflix work. Critics say the project received less push than expected, making people question whether the platform was fully behind it. Supporters disagree and say critics are twisting normal media business into another attack on Harry and Meghan. The couple's spokesperson responded quickly. The allegations were rejected, with some claims described as conspiracy theories and critics accused of being fixated on the couple. But that answer only brought more attention to an already heated debate. Commentators keep noting that Bower has now written multiple books involving Harry and Meghan, while Lady Colin Campbell has made similar arguments for years through television appearances, online videos, interviews, and public commentary watched by millions. Critics also point out that many of these fights have remained in the public square rather than moving into a courtroom. Lady C has flagged that point more than once. People ask why Harry and Meghan, who have taken legal action in other media disputes, have not used the same force against certain critics making repeated claims about them. Supporters answer that not every accusation deserves a lawsuit, and silence does not equal confirmation. Still, the question keeps coming back. That is where Lady Colin Campbell focused on something she believed the media missed. Instead of only chasing rumors, she went line by line through official birth announcements and argued that the wording deserved closer attention.
Mystery, and they want to hide their secrets, and I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to.
Absolutely. What we're really now seeing is that both of them, having posed as the victim for so long,
and they haven't sued. Harry and Meghan hasn't sued. She can't sue because Vanity Fair will have made sure that it had ironclad information.
Well, I don't mind if they sue as long as they lose. And so far, thank goodness, they've lost. But I think that Meghan, if she sues, she won't want to appear in court being cross-examined by my barrister. So it's better.
However, there is no doubt that both the Sussex's announcement and the Palace announcement indicate that the child was not born of Meghan's body, contrary to any bumps that may have been bouncing around day and night.
To tell the truth, I spoke to very few friends of Meghan because she put a fatwa on anyone talking to me who she could. So I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them didn't even reply.
In any case, there are too many discrepancies in this document for Lilibet.
That analysis became a major royal talking point. When Lilibet's birth was announced, two separate statements appeared, one from Harry and Meghan's team and one from Buckingham Palace. Lady C examined the language in both statements and highlighted the phrase saying the family was delighted with the news of the birth of a daughter for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. To most people, that wording may sound ordinary. But Lady C argued that the single word for carried weight. Based on etiquette and language conventions she has discussed for years, she suggested the phrase could be read in more than one way. She questioned whether that wording was chosen carefully or accidentally. No official confirmation has ever supported her interpretation, and supporters say it is unfair to build suspicion from one word. But her reading still lit up the royal commentary world. Then Bauer added another layer. In Betrayal, he reportedly raised questions about details surrounding Archie's birth timeline, including whether May 6th is the correct date and whether the sequence of events matches what has been publicly said. That landed like a bombshell online. Bauer also echoed something Lady C had already put into the debate. No medical professional has publicly signed off on either birth in a way critics expected. That line has become one of the most repeated claims in royal commentary circles, especially when critics compare the Sussex births to other royal births, including those of Princess Beatrice, Princess Eugenie, and the children of Prince William and Catherine. Those births came with public documentation and formal announcements. Supporters push back, arguing that privacy expectations can differ depending on rank, circumstances, and personal choice, and that not every royal birth must follow the same pattern.
As she dug deeper into her own hole.
All other royal babies in the line of succession have had their births signed off. Princess Eugenie, Princess Beatrice, Sarah York, Diana Wales, Catherine Wales, you name it. Everybody knows where the babies came from, at what time, with proof.
And suggested that it added another layer of mystery to an already heavily debated topic.
And that the female obstetrician who assisted with the birth then shut down her practice immediately at the end of that month, and any of her patients who were relying on her were left.
But the discussion becomes more intense. Another detail commentators keep bringing up involves reports that the doctor publicly connected to Lilibet's birth closed her practice around the same period and stepped away from public visibility. According to those reports, she has stayed silent since. Lady Colin Campbell called the situation troubling and said it added another layer of mystery to a heavily debated topic. Bauer also said he believed it deserved examination. And Lady C did not stop there. She made clear she was not relying only on instinct. She says she spoke directly with medical professionals, nurses, and women who had experienced pregnancy themselves, claiming many conversations led to similar observations and questions about Meghan's pregnancy appearances. These claims remain disputed and unverified. Still, they continue because people keep comparing footage, photos, and timeline. Lady C has long focused on what she describes as unusual shifts in Meghan's pregnancy appearance. At one point, she used the word performed for the baby bump, arguing it looked different from one public outing to another. Bigger on some days, smaller on others, sometimes within what critics saw as a very short period. One example repeatedly mentioned involves Meghan's appearance in a purple dress with a red coat, which critics claimed looked unusual for that stage of pregnancy. Supporters say photos and clothing can mislead, and that these are public interpretations, not medical findings.
Photographs of Meghan and the way the baby bump performed are totally unexpected, and they're not aware of any baby, any pregnant woman who is genuinely pregnant having her bump perform the way Meghan's has performed.
Bump flicking, because again, it looks like she's drawing attention over here and doing something sneaky over there. That's what she was kind of doing in that scenario.
It's magic. It's pretty amazing, and I mean, I have the two best guys in the world, so I'm really happy.
Tell us a little bit about your son. What's he like? Is he sleeping well? Good baby?
Yes, he has the sweetest temperament. He's really calm and
he gets that from.
Another constant moment involves a dog shelter visit. Meghan, reportedly around 8 months pregnant at the time, was photographed in high heels, crouching toward the floor and standing back up without visible help. The images spread fast. Some viewers said the movement looked surprising for someone that far into pregnancy. Others pushed back, saying every pregnancy is different and physical ability can vary widely from person to person. Either way, it still divides opinion. Critics have repeatedly pointed to Meghan's public appearances, arguing that certain movements appeared unusual for someone in the later stages of pregnancy. Supporters counter that this kind of judgment is highly subjective and nearly impossible to settle from outside. Then there is Prince Harry's comment during his first public appearance with Archie. He reportedly said it was amazing how much babies change in 2 weeks, even though Archie was officially only 2 days old at the time. That one line set off a firestorm. Lady Colin Campbell flagged it almost immediately, and it spread across social media, videos, and forums. Some called it a simple slip of the tongue. Others were not ready to dismiss it. According to Lady C and Bauer, the remark was never clarified in a way that ended the questions, and they kept calling it worthy of follow-up. The debate around those two words has never fully disappeared. And now the conversation shifts to something critics argue is even harder to brush away, a heavily debated detail in this controversy.
The baby's changed so much over 2 weeks. We're basically sort of monitoring how the changing process happens over this next month, really. But his looks are changing every single day.
Yeah.
Wow. So who knows? And how are you finding parenting generally? Is it still a special moment? Yeah, it's great. I mean, parenting is amazing. It's only been 2.5 days, 3 days.
Yeah.
But we're just so thrilled to have our own little bundle of joy, and to be able to spend some precious times with him as he slowly starts to grow up.
So I have no axe to grind in terms of how a baby comes as long as it's here. I think it's wonderful news. However, there is no doubt that both the Sussex's announcement and the Palace announcement indicate that the child was...
A royal commentator flagged something she found unusual on Lilibet's publicly available birth certificate. According to her analysis, the document listed state area code 105, which she claimed did not match public government records. The commentator pointed out that California, where Harry and Meghan have said Lilibet was born at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, is associated with birth area code 104, not 105. She presented the gap as worth examining. Critics of that theory note that administrative codes and record systems can be complex, and this remains a matter of debate rather than an established fact. But the claim gained traction when Lady Colin Campbell entered. Lady C stated that based on what she had reviewed, code 105 corresponded to Colorado, not California. That sent royal commentary into overdrive. Lady C made clear she was not treating this as a standalone issue. She argued that even if one detail could be explained away as an administrative error, the broader picture involved questions building over years. The wording of public announcements, questions around medical documentation, reports about healthcare professionals connected to the births, and the couple's decision to keep certain family matters private instead of following older royal traditions became part of the same debate. For them, the issue is less gossip and more unanswered public uncertainty around a royal narrative.
Look over here, my belly, and ignore that there's actually a surrogate somewhere else. I don't think this was the case. However, it just goes back to Harry and Meghan's micromanaging of their image, and that's what kind of continued to fuel this. So they announced as well that they wouldn't tell us where she would give birth, nor who would be involved in it. It would be perhaps midwives or, some doctors. She refused to allow the Queen's doctors to work with her, and they're the best in the country. So it's just got a lot of people wondering what the heck was going on. And it just kind of, again, fueled this suspicion.
He is somebody who believes, understandably, she's got to control everything down to the last full stop.
Well, I understand that 105 is Colorado.
Yes.
So, and Meghan and Harry have asserted that the child was born, I forget the name of what the hospital was, in Santa Barbara. And I mean, they came up with an elaborate story. Remember how Meghan was very peckish on the way to Lily's delivery, and therefore they had to stop for hot tacos or some such thing to aid.
Put together, Lady C says those issues deserve serious examination. Supporters of Harry and Meghan maintain that much of it is speculation without confirmed evidence. Bauer also explored additional questions in betrayal, including reported timeline details and the hospital story, adding more fuel to an already loaded discussion. Then came another detail Lady C found remarkable: the drive to the hospital before Lilibet's birth. According to stories discussed by commentators, Meghan was reportedly hungry on the way, which led to a taco stop along the route. Lady C's reaction was blunt. She argued that based on her understanding, that account did not line up with what most people would expect during active labor. She has repeated that view, linking it to her wider criticism of the official birth narrative. She has also argued that questions tied to royal succession carry serious public weight because these are not just private family matters. Royal family members hold positions in a line of succession across the UK and Commonwealth realms. For that reason, Lady C insists transparency on succession-related issues is essential. Others strongly disagree, arguing Harry and Meghan are entitled to privacy around medical and family decisions. But the debate keeps going, and something has shifted in recent months.
It was to get to people who I genuinely wanted to hear the good side of her from. But obviously, she is a person who controls the narrative. She controls people. She ghosts people like her father or the royal family when she doesn't like them. For example, the whole description she does of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated. We all know the first interview was given to CBS. We all know that she never intended to go to the Portland hospital. She intended to have the baby at home. We know that they deceived the public about the birth data and time.
Conversations that once stayed buried in social media comment sections are now reaching much wider audiences. Topics around DNA testing, verification, and transparency are being discussed more openly by commentators, creators, and royal watchers. Lady Colin Campbell has repeatedly laid out what she believes are serious legal and constitutional questions tied to the line of succession. She argues that rules governing royal succession make the circumstances surrounding an heir's birth a matter of public interest. She has also raised the point that if children were ever born through surrogacy, questions could arise about how existing laws and succession rules might apply. These points remain part of an ongoing public debate and are not based on any official finding about Harry and Meghan's family. Lady C has also brought up UK surrogacy laws directly, claiming many people do not understand how those regulations work or what restrictions may apply. She has pointed to differences between countries, noting that California is often described as more surrogacy-friendly. Commentators often highlight that in certain arrangements, birth records may list intended parents while details involving a surrogate move through separate legal processes and privacy protections. Some critics argue official documents do not always close the conversation. They believe paperwork can leave room for interpretation, which is why these debates keep pulling people back online and in the media. And while Bauer's betrayal did not directly state surrogacy as an established fact, critics argue that the questions surrounding transparency, timelines, and documentation are now too loud to disappear.
Why was the announcement of Harry and Meghan's baby only made over 48 hours after the birth? Were they only then going to pick her up? Well, it certainly gave them time to organize things. Only two children that there is no proof for is Prince Archie Bunker and Princess Lily. You better hope that she's really entitled to what they claim she's entitled to. And I think it is the right of all citizens of the United Kingdom, Jamaica, the Isle of Man, you name it, all the countries that Charles and all the realms that Canada, Australia, New Zealand, you and I have two skins in this game because we're both dual nationals. Most people only have one skin in the game, but we are doubly entitled to know that those.
Commentators say betrayal raised enough questions to keep the speculation machine moving at full speed among royal watchers. Across hundreds of pages, Tom Bauer examines choices that some critics view as unusually guarded compared with how other senior royals have handled public life. Supporters of Harry and Meghan describe those choices as normal personal boundaries. Critics argue the patterns discussed in the book connect closely with concerns Lady Colin Campbell has been raising for years, and that is why the debate keeps exploding online. Calls for DNA testing and stronger verification have continued spreading across social media, forums, and royal commentary channels, pulling huge attention from both sides of the Atlantic. What has made it louder is simple. Harry and Meghan have not publicly answered these specific demands. That silence has become its own storyline. Critics say it keeps speculation alive. Supporters argue the couple owes no response to every rumor pushed across the internet. When the name Lilibet Diana was revealed, most outlets described it as a heartfelt tribute to Queen Elizabeth II and Princess Diana. It created major headlines across the UK, the US, and beyond. But Lady Colin Campbell offered a completely different reading. She claimed people she described as close to palace circles did not react the way the glowing coverage suggested. According to Lady C, the private reaction was marked by shock, concern, and frustration, not celebration. She repeatedly emphasized that Lilibet was a deeply personal childhood nickname tied to Queen Elizabeth II, given by her father and used by only a tight inner circle for decades, most famously by Prince Philip throughout their long marriage. In Lady C's view, so little of the Queen's private world remained truly private over time that the name carried an almost sacred personal weight. Then Lady C highlighted reports about trademark-related filings connected to the name around the time of the announcement. She interpreted that as a possible sign of branding, not just sentiment.
Children herself or Harry hadn't been involved, then they can't be in the royal line. They have to have royal blood, those little ones. Without that, there's no chance of them becoming a member of the royal family.
When it comes to surrogacy laws in the UK, you cannot pay your surrogate. Your surrogate has to volunteer to do this. This is not the case in the States. So they could have had a surrogate in the States and then fly her over to London to give birth, but that gets kind of complicated.
You can't beat the real story. I mean, that's the exciting.
Critics of Harry and Meghan seized on that argument immediately. Supporters pushed back with equal force, insisting the name was a sincere family tribute. Lady C went further, suggesting the move felt more commercial than traditional, and that view triggered another wave of intense debate online. Tom Bauer made a similar observation in Betrayal. His assessment was that many major decisions linked to the couple can be examined through branding, public image, and long-term commercial opportunity, and that even intimate family moments often feed a broader strategy built around marketability and media attention. Some critics treated that as confirmation of what they already believed. Supporters called it speculation dressed up as analysis. Either way, it has become one of the most repeated arguments in discussions about Harry and Meghan. Then came the moment royal commentators began dissecting every word. When William and Catherine publicly responded to the birth announcement, they congratulated Harry, Meghan, and Archie on the arrival of baby Lily, not Lilibet. Lady Colin Campbell argued that choice was not accidental. In her view, that one word was a carefully measured signal, a subtle but loaded way of expressing a position without confronting the controversy directly. So here is where everything lands, and there is a lot to unpack. Tom Bower spent years researching and building the case presented in Betrayal. With nearly 500 pages of claims, behind-the-scenes accounts, and pointed allegations, the book did not merely ruffle feathers. It set the royal commentary world on fire. And the conversations it triggered are still moving, still growing, and still pulling in new audiences who are only now discovering how deep this debate runs. Bower did not enter this space as an unknown voice. He arrived as a seasoned investigative biographer with a long record of challenging powerful figures through detailed research and direct sourcing. His earlier work had already made him someone difficult to dismiss. So when Betrayal reached shelves in March 2026 and climbed to #1 on the Sunday Times bestseller list within days, it was not just a publishing victory. It signaled that public appetite for answers around Harry and Meghan had reached a new peak. The book did not land in isolation either.
To allow the Queen's doctors to work with her, and they're the best in the country. So it's just got a lot of people wondering what the heck was going on.
Their privacy is trumped by our right to know that no bastard is going to sit on the throne of this country. All Harry and Meghan need to do is prove to us that she popped those babies out. And that's all they need to do.
It arrived in the middle of an already charged atmosphere where Lady Colin Campbell had spent years laying the groundwork through television appearances, online platforms, and interviews watched by millions. Between them, Bower and Lady C have created what critics describe as a sustained multi-year examination of the couple's public narrative. It keeps finding new audiences no matter how often supporters try to dismiss it as tabloid noise. And that framing matters, because one of the most important things to understand is who is driving the debate. These are not anonymous accounts hiding in dark corners of the internet. Tom Bower is a published, widely recognized investigative author. Lady Colin Campbell is a titled author and commentator with decades of experience around royal circles. Both have gone on record, used their real names, and made their arguments before massive public audiences again and again. That level of public commitment is something critics of Harry and Meghan point to constantly. If the claims were obviously baseless, they ask, why have they not been challenged more aggressively through legal channels? Harry and Meghan have shown in other disputes that they are willing to pursue media organizations through the courts. The contrast between cases that were pursued and claims that remain publicly debated has become one of the most common questions among royal watchers on both sides of the Atlantic. Now, the claims themselves cover a remarkable amount of ground. That breadth is exactly what Lady C argues makes the situation significant. It is not one isolated question. It is a collection of separate threads that critics say form a bigger picture when viewed together. Start with the birth announcements. Lady C went line by line through official statements released around Lilibet's birth, one from Harry and Meghan's representatives and one from Buckingham Palace, then focused on a single word. The phrase described the family as delighted with the news of the birth of a daughter for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
Old fury and consternation are the words that would be most appropriately used to describe the reaction, and that it is a ravishment of the Queen's privacy and identity that they would have chosen to name the child after her nickname. A nickname that is used by very few people. I have to say, when I heard, my stomach literally turned. I thought, this is really sick-making stuff. It's also fabulous merchandising. Can you imagine? Specials on Target, Lilibet's outfits, Lilibet's smocks, reduced from $5.99 to $3.
That word for became the center of a debate about etiquette, language, and whether official royal communications use phrasing carelessly. Lady C argued it could be read more than one way and that the choice may have been deliberate. No official body has confirmed that interpretation, but the argument spread quickly and has never fully disappeared. Then there is the birth certificate detail flagged by a royal commentator. The publicly available document for Lilibet reportedly listed state area code 105, while California, where Harry and Meghan have said she was born at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, is associated by the commentator with code 104. Lady Colin Campbell picked up that claim and stated publicly that, based on her review, code 105 corresponded to Colorado rather than California. Administrative systems and record codes can be complicated, and there is no official confirmation of that interpretation. Still, the detail spread rapidly across online communities and has remained part of the broader debate. Layered on top are the questions Bauer raised in Betrayal about Archie's birth timeline, including whether May 6th is the accurate date and whether the sequence of publicly described events truly lines up. Then add the comment Harry reportedly made during his first public appearance with Archie, saying it was amazing how much babies change in 2 weeks when Archie was officially only 2 days old. Lady C flagged it almost instantly. It moved across social media and discussion forums within hours. Some called it an obvious slip of the tongue. Others argued it was a detail that deserved a direct clarification that never truly arrived. According to Lady C and Bauer, the comment was never addressed in a way that satisfied the people asking questions. They have continued referencing it for years, and the debate around those 2 words, 2 weeks, has never fully settled. Then there is the doctor. Reports indicate that the physician publicly connected to Lilibet's birth closed her medical practice around the same time and has made no public statement about the matter since. Lady C described that as troubling, another piece that she says adds to the overall picture rather than standing alone. Bauer called it worth examining. Lady C also made clear she was not forming these views in isolation. She said she consulted medical professionals, nurses, and women with personal pregnancy experience, claiming many of those conversations produced similar observations and questions about Meghan's public pregnancy appearances. Those observations include what Lady C described as unusual shifts in the appearance of Meghan's baby bump across different public outings, larger on some days, smaller on others, sometimes within a very short window.
And that is why she married Prince Harry. A great surprise and disappointment was to discover that Prince Harry had very little money. She imagined he'd be worth hundreds of millions, if not billions. And she's having to make up for it now.
And of course, the family is going to pretend that nothing is amiss, because that's the only dignified thing to do. And they are going to, if they are forced to, they're going to indicate, without giving the game away entirely, that they are pleased, in quotes. My understanding is that they're anything but
fascinating. I mean, I would not doubt it, actually, because this is a very crafty woman who is trying to put all of the puzzle pieces together so that if the marriage does end, or maybe it's not a matter of if, Alex, maybe it's a matter of when the marriage does end, she is in the pole position to make him look bad and also for her to make the money.
She used the word performed to describe it, a phrase that immediately became controversial. Critics pointed to specific appearances, including a purple dress and a red coat, as examples they found unusual for that stage of pregnancy. Supporters pushed back strongly, arguing pregnancy experiences vary enormously and that drawing conclusions from photographs is deeply subjective. The dog shelter visit became another flashpoint. Meghan, reportedly around 8 months pregnant at the time, was photographed wearing high heels, crouching toward the floor and standing back up without visible assistance. The images circulated widely. Some argued the movement looked surprising for someone at that stage. Others said physical ability during pregnancy is highly individual and cannot be judged from a photograph. The footage continues to be interpreted in completely opposite ways depending on who is watching. Through all of this runs a legal and constitutional argument that Lady C has raised repeatedly and forcefully. Members of the royal family hold places within a line of succession followed across the United Kingdom and multiple Commonwealth realms. Lady C argues that the rules governing royal succession make the circumstances surrounding an heir's birth a matter of genuine public interest, not just curiosity or gossip. She has raised questions about how existing succession laws might apply in certain alternative scenarios and has pointed to differences between surrogacy laws across countries, noting that California is often described as having particularly flexible legal frameworks in that area. Commentators discussing those legal angles often note that in certain arrangements, birth records may list intended parents while details connected to other parties move through separate legal processes with strong privacy protections. Critics argue those protections, while legitimate in most contexts, make it harder to settle public debate through documentation alone. Some go further and argue official documents do not automatically close every question. Sometimes, they say, documents create new ones. The name Lilibet Diana sits at the center of another major controversy in the wider debate. When the announcement came, most media coverage framed it as deeply personal and moving. Lady C rejected that framing. She said people she described as close to palace circles reacted with shock, concern, and frustration, not warmth. She repeatedly emphasized that Lilibet was an intensely private nickname used by only a tiny inner circle throughout the Queen's life and made famous above all by Prince Philip during their decades-long marriage.
She wanted wealth and she wanted fame. And she targeted, there's no doubt she targeted Harry and found someone who was a childhood friend of his who could introduce them. And then on the days before they met at their blind meeting in a club in London, she researched Harry very carefully.
In Lady C's view, so little of the Queen's private life remained truly private over the years that the name held almost sacred personal significance. Then she highlighted reports of trademark-related filings connected to the name made around the time of the announcement, interpreting that as evidence of a commercial dimension rather than a purely symbolic choice. Critics amplified that argument loudly. Supporters rejected it just as loudly, insisting the name was a genuine tribute. Lady C described the move as feeling more like a branding exercise than a royal gesture, and that framing triggered another round of fierce debate. Bauer pursued a similar line of thinking in Betrayal, arguing across multiple chapters that many of the couple's most significant decisions, including deeply personal ones, can be understood through branding, media strategy, and long-term commercial positioning. That interpretation has become one of the most debated takeaways from the entire book. Supporters call it unfair speculation. Critics say it explains patterns they have watched across years of public moves by the couple. William and Catherine's response to the birth announcement added another layer. Their public congratulations referred to the baby as Lily, not Lilibet, for letters that Lady C argued were anything but accidental. In her view, that word choice was measured and careful, a way of communicating publicly without directly entering the controversy. Supporters saw nothing more than a friendly nickname. Critics saw a statement hidden inside diplomatic language. Either way, royal watchers picked it apart for days. The claims around Spare brought a different kind of controversy into the mix. According to a source referenced on Lady C's program, Meghan was not simply aware of Harry's admissions about past substance use in the book. The source alleged she encouraged those disclosures. The source claimed references to cocaine, cannabis, and psychedelics were included with intentions beyond personal reflection or transparency. Lady C and fellow commentators have theorized about how those public admissions, now locked permanently into the public record, could take on different significance in future legal, media, or public relations situations. These are theories and interpretations, not established facts. But they generated serious heat in royal commentary circles and show no sign of cooling. Lady C has consistently described Meghan as someone with a deeply strategic approach to major decisions, public appearances, and long-term positioning, arguing this has been a defining pattern throughout her career. Bauer mirrors that characterization in Betrayal, presenting Meghan as someone who thinks several moves ahead and operates with clear intention. Supporters read those same traits as preparation, ambition, and media intelligence, not manipulation. The gap between those two readings is where much of the ongoing debate lives. Reports suggesting Meghan's representatives had explored interest in a possible post-divorce book project added yet another chapter.
Lady C, she hasn't even denied that claim. That's the thing that is most astonishing, and it really is shocking. It's completely shocking.
Harry, I said it before and I'm saying it again. Harry and Meghan's marriage is in big trouble. Yes, she reeled him back in when she needed him performing like a performing seal, and yes, he obliged. And yes, there was a pretense that everything was okay. And I'm sure she put on that Stan Getz record for Harry so that he would be convinced that the greatest pleasures in life are when you're blowing in the wind. Well,
the reports moved quickly across media platforms. Critics noted there was no widely publicized legal response or direct public denial. Lady C focused on that absence, arguing the silence became almost as significant as the original report, a point she has returned to multiple times in commentary. What makes all of this remarkable is not only the individual claims. It is how long they have maintained momentum. Royal controversies usually peak and fade. This one keeps growing. That is why the story keeps returning to the same pressure point. Critics believe too many details were left vague, too many explanations arrived indirectly, and too many questions were treated as attacks instead of being answered cleanly. Supporters believe that expectation is unfair because no family should be forced to place medical history, pregnancy details, birth records, or children into a public courtroom because commentators demand it. But royal life has existed in a space where private choices and public duty collide. That collision is what gives this controversy its staying power. It is not only about one book, one nickname, one certificate code, or one old comment. It is about trust, image, succession, privacy, and the question of how much clarity the public can reasonably expect from people still connected to a constitutional institution. New audiences discover the debate constantly. Commentators who had not previously covered Harry and Meghan are now spending serious time on these questions. Calls for DNA testing, verification, and transparency that once lived in comment sections have moved firmly into mainstream royal commentary across both the US and the UK. Harry and Meghan's team has not publicly responded to these specific demands. Supporters argue the couple is under no obligation to engage with every circulating theory. Critics argue the silence sustains the speculation more than any response could. Both sides have arguments, and neither is backing down. Supporters of Harry and Meghan maintain that many claims circulating online rely on interpretation, speculation, and selective scrutiny. They argue privacy is a right, pregnancy and birth experiences are deeply personal, and applying different standards to Harry and Meghan than to other public figures reflects bias instead of accountability. Critics counter that the royal family is not simply private. It is constitutional. The line of succession is a matter of law, public record, and national governance. When questions arise around that succession, critics say public interest is not just understandable, it is legitimate. That tension between privacy and transparency around constitutional matters sits at the heart of everything this debate keeps circling back to. Until something changes in a significant and verifiable way, that tension is not going anywhere. So here is where things stand right now. Bauer's betrayal sits on shelves with nearly 500 pages of material still being discussed, debated, and dissected. Lady Colin Campbell continues to speak publicly and consistently, keeping these threads alive across platforms and audiences worldwide. Online communities dedicated to these questions are bigger and more active than ever. The broader public on both sides of the Atlantic is paying more attention to the royal family's complicated dynamics than it has in years. Supported or challenged, believed or disputed, these conversations have taken on a life of their own. No matter which side of the debate someone stands on, one thing is hard to deny. The questions being asked are louder, wider, and more persistent than ever before. The debate is not slowing down. If anything, it is only beginning. If this video made you think, hit the like button and make sure you are subscribed so you never miss what comes next. Share this with someone who follows royal news because this is exactly the kind of conversation that deserves a wider audience. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to know where you stand on everything covered today. See you in the next one.